Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. In a very good, interesting article in the Standard and also in Bulwer 24, Kenneth Mufuka was commenting on the Al Jazeera Zimbabwe Gold Mafia. I would like to highlight 4 points that he made in his article. I think they're worth looking at. The first one was that we should be aware that of the importance of this Al Jazeera documentary. In it, he was talking of the documentary went one step further. And to quote him, to suspect that something is wrong is different from knowing that something is wrong. That is why the Al Jazeera expose is devastating. I think that point is an important one. Many of us suspected that there was corruption in Zimbabwe, but we would hear of figures, but we could not substantiate them. The documentary named the names, how much they were looting, how they were looting it, and most important of all, the sums involved. In this documentary, the Al Jazeera documentary, they talk of 80% of an estimated $2 billion in gold is smuggled out of the country every year. The documentary only focuses on gold. The looting is not only confined to gold. There's diamonds that are being looted. And this has been going on for a long time too. And recently, lithium has become another hot commodity that is being smuggled out of the country. And other minerals like platinum and so forth. And then in other areas as well, there is a lot of cartels involved in the buying and selling of fuel, medicine, etc. So the level of corruption in Zimbabwe, at least just focusing on gold alone, we have got a feel of it. That's point number one. Number two, Kenneth Mufuka talked of the Kenyan of Indian descent, Kamleash Pattni. And I quote, Kamleash Pattni invented the Kenyan model of election fraud by helping President Arap Moi buy off opposition leaders. End of quote. Pattni has immigrated to Zimbabwe. And he has brought with him the same model. And there's no doubt he has used it to help Robert Mugabe, and now is using it to help Mnangagwa to stay in power. We can be absolutely certain that President Mnangagwa did not grant a crook like Hubert Angel this ambassador at large with all the powers that entail for the good of Zimbabwe, the good of Rome. He granted him, this crook, these powers to help himself stay in power. The powers were granted to Hubert Angel for the glory of Caesar, not the good of Rome. That we can be absolutely certain. The third point is, if there was any doubt that Zanu PF is rigging these elections, the documentary has spelled out that doubt. There cannot be any doubt after the documentary. Because in the documentary, we can see how powerful financially Zanu PF leaders are, and their mafia behind them. They are not going to risk losing that power, all this wealth, by risking holding free, fair, and credible elections. That we can be certain of. So we can be 100% certain that if Zanu PF at all doubts that they will lose the election, they will rig them. Simple as. And we have already seen the lengths which Zanu PF has gone to rig these elections. Zanu PF is rigging these elections, and at the same time, the party is doing everything it can to encourage as many people as possible, including, of course, the opposition, whom we know most of them, they've already bought them anyway, to participate, to give the process some modicum of credibility. I think as ordinary people, we have absolutely nothing to gain from participating in these flawed and illegal elections. And all men of intellect out there should leave no stone unturned to make sure that they do not participate and they don't encourage anyone to participate. Because once they've participated, Zanu PF can turn around and say, no, the elections were free, fair, and credible. Look at how many people participated. It is in our own interest to make sure we do not participate. And not only that, we should start denouncing this process right now. We should not have to wait for the election process to go through and then start denouncing it. We should start denouncing it right now. We should look at the evidence that these elections are being rigged and pointing them out and denouncing that this process cannot possibly deliver free, fair, and credible elections and should be dismissed accordingly. There is absolutely nothing to be gained for participating in these elections. If these elections are not endorsed, that will only give us a chance of implementing the reforms. And only after implementing the reforms and clearing the deck would we, ordinary Zimbabweans, have a fighting chance of having a meaningful say in the governance of the country. That is what is at stake here now. The Al Jazeera has come out at the right time to underline that point, that the present wealth of Zanu PF and its gold mafia friends is such that their financial muscle is unbelievable compared to the ordinary person. Many people in Zimbabwe are living, like 49% of the people are living in abject poverty. You cannot match and compete with Zanu PF with all the millions, billions of dollars that the regime has, and its mafia friends can bankroll them. Because they all know, quickly, as long as Zanu PF is in power, they can recover whatever the bank rolls Zanu PF right now within a month or two post the elections. That is how much these people are getting. I think we have got to give ourselves a fighting chance. And the fighting chance in the present moment is to fight to make sure that this Zanu PF does not get legitimacy out of this flawed and illegal election process, in which Zanu PF has got so much money. For every dollar that uh, anyone can raise out there, they can raise $1,000. And in this particular case, our biggest argument was that the opposition should not participate. We have been talking to our own hand because the opposition is hell bent on participating in these elections. And clearly, that is a sign that the Kenyan model is what is happening in Zimbabwe. The mafia and Zanu PF, between the two of them, are making sure that the opposition participate in these elections, are hell bent on participating in these elections. It doesn't matter how much we point out on the irregularities and illegalities in the process. The opposition are simply ignoring all that and participate. There can only be one rational explanation for it. They are well paid to participate, and they are going to do so. Period. I think we need to give the ordinary people of Zimbabwe a break. After 43 years and counting of rigged elections, the only chance of stopping, putting an end to this madness is to have these elections declared null and void, Zanu PF denied the legitimacy, so that we can finally implement the democratic reforms that will allow free, fair, and credible elections at long, long last. Thank you very much for listening, and good night.